Hello there girls and boys! Today I'm gonna show you how to make a really cool clean guitar sound using the Slate Digital version of THU, now part of the Slate Digital All Access Pack. Welcome back to Logic Pro X. In front of us we got a Logic session in which I have already loaded the backing track that you already heard, and also we got over here a track which has my electric guitar previously recorded. And thanks to the advent of technology, and also since I'm a lazy guy, we're gonna use this recording as a source for sound, for guitar sound. So let's get into it now. The first thing that we're gonna do is load up an instance of THU Slate Edition, which I have already loaded. And then we're gonna get rid of all of these things, presets, and we're gonna leave only the components area. Now, if I recall correctly, the way this guitar sound was recorded on the album was by using a beautiful Mesa Boogie Dual Caliber 50, which I really love, using the clean channel. Imagine that amplifier like something in between Prince and the sound of John Petrucci from Dream Theater. So it's an amazing guitar amp. And the closest thing that we got in here is this thing called Marcus to clean. So we're gonna add it, and as soon as this window shows up, we're gonna say no thanks, we don't want that, sir. So what did we got now? Well, we only have here the amplifier head. Now we need a proper cabinet. So we're gonna go back to the components area, and we're gonna find the Slate Digital Cabinet IR, which is quite cool. For those of you who don't know, this particular edition of the THU software comes built in with a plethora of different IRs from Slate Digital, and they are quite cool. So just as it is, we should have something that sounds like this. It already sounds cool. It's a beautiful clean sound, but there is nothing going on. Now, before we move further into the amplifier, we gotta add a little bit of a je ne sais quoi, and that je ne sais quoi is gonna come in the form of equalization. This amplifier is a really powerful tool because it has, well, the real life version has a really high headroom, which allows you to get really loud, but at the same time, the breakup point of the amplifier it's quite high, which means that you can drive it quite heavily and you are not going to get any form of distortion when it comes to the clean channel. The lead channel, it's a complete different story because it's a beast on its own. Now, this digital rendition is following quite close to the real deal. So the first thing that we're going to do is just control the amount of gain that we got in here, and let's give it a try. As I said, this thing has it's a really great recreation because it is representing properly the way and the sound of the real amplifier. Even though this is a digital version, this thing still has the quite high headroom of the original counterpart. Now, for this application, we're gonna leave it as it is, just right in the middle. Let's say something like this, and now. The mids are the core ingredient of a guitar sound, and never follow the old trick. Everybody says that you gotta get rid of the mids in order to make your guitar sounds like the real deal, but believe me, that's the worst thing that you could ever do. So try to push the mids a little bit, but without going too far. So let's give it a try. As you could hear, as soon as I started to push the mid knob a little bit further, you could hear the guitar a little bit clearer, and it got some form of volume boost. But in reality, it's just that the ears are listening to the sound of the guitar a little bit clearer because the guitar lives in that region of the spectrum. So always remember that. Now, the next thing is gonna be, let's control a little bit the brightness of the sound because it's a little bit too bright to my taste. It's a little bit too trebly. That sounds really good. But now, I don't know, I don't think that I like the sound of this cabinet in particular. So let's see how it sounds if we change the cabinets. The cool thing about this is that once you double click on the surface of the visual representation of the cabinet, you will have access to this window. In this window, you can change and pick any of the different IRs that this software comes built in with. So right now we're using this one, which is like it's using a tweet as a tweet amplifier. And let's give it a try to the second one. I think for this application, I'm gonna use this one because the sound that we're getting out of this IR in particular is a little bit rounder and it has a little bit more of bottom end, but at the same time it feels more. It's working quite nicely in conjunction with the amplifier. So now let's get into the effects territory. When it comes to the effects on my guitar, I like them to be more like an atmospheric effect rather than an effect that goes right in your face. So in this song, the way that I decided to shape the sound of the guitar was first of all trying to make it sound a little bit dream-like and a little bit bigger, and to cover way more space. So the first thing that we're gonna add to achieve that component, that effect, is gonna be adding tape delay. And how I managed to do that in the real world was by using a proper tape delay pedal, which I happen to own. It's over here, and it's like I don't know. I don't even know if I think that the people who made it are not even around anymore. I'm not saying that they are dead or anything, but I'm saying that they are out of business. And this is like a tape delay that has a really great vibe. It's a really good sound, and all in all, I love it. I call it the magical machine because everything that I put it in front of an amp, it works. So with this being said, let's try to find something that resembles the sound of that tape delay. And the closest thing that we got in here is, let's go to this one. It's tape delay. But we're gonna use it right here in front of the amplifier. And that's something really, really important. Because given the fact and the nature of a tape delay, it in my opinion and to my ears, it usually sounds way better when you put it in front of a clean amp rather than using it on the effects loop of the amplifier. And let's give it a listen first. It's already adding that a little bit of mysterious sound to the whole thing. And one of the reasons why I love tape delays is the fact that they have this kind of darker sound in comparison to a digital one. A digital delay tends to be quite precise when it comes to the repetitions, but a tape delay it's more like a mimic. It's trying to represent the best it can the sound of your guitar rather than making a real replica of the sound. Let's mess around with the parameters in here and try to get it as close as the original recording as possible. So here we go. First thing, it is not following the tempo. It's quite close, and thanks to this, THU, we have access to a tap tempo feature, which we are gonna use. The tempo. Perfect, we got it. Now, the next thing, the regeneration. This is kind of it's the amount of repetitions that we're gonna get each time. It's like the feedback feature on a different delay. Okay, so I think that we need a little bit more of the effect going on, so we're gonna add it to taste. Awesome, it's working. But now we hit this part, the levels, which is quite important because in here we're going to control the amount of this is like the mix knob of the effect. So I think we should have a little bit more of the sound of the delay going on. So I'm going to add a little bit more. So let's give it a shot. Awesome, that sounds beautiful. Now, the next step. We need a compressor. And this one that we got here, the RSS compressor, it's a beautiful compressor. And actually, it's super simple to use because it only has 3 knobs. So, in here you have the regular stuff. And basically speaking, what we are trying to do is to control the attack of the notes, and also to make them sound a little bit more compressed, if you know what I mean. So the first thing to do is gonna be raise up the level of sustain and compensate the output of the pedal. So we're gonna leave it like this first and start to mess around with the knobs. This is a pro tip. Every time that you're dealing with a compressor, make sure that as soon as you crank up any of the knobs, turn off the compressor to see if you are not being fooled by the increment of level or the decrement of level whenever you engage the compressor. Now let's talk about modulation. We got a properly controlled, a dynamically controlled sound, and also we added an amazing delay. Now it's time to add modulation to give a little bit of vibe to the sound. So we're gonna do it using this incredible recreation of a chorus pedal, the famous Boss chorus pedal, and actually it's amazing. And what we're gonna do is first of all set it to mono, and we're gonna listen to it in context, but this time around we're gonna use a different section of the song. It's a little bit overwhelming. I don't like the sound at all because it's adding a little bit too much low end. So the first thing is we're gonna get rid of some of the low frequencies that are being modulated by the chorus and add a little bit more highs so we can have a much more edgier sound. Almost like magic. Now we're gonna add a little bit more speed to the frequency to have a much more notorious effect. Let's see what happens. Beautiful. Now, the last component in this first section is gonna be equalization. Right now we got a little bit of too much low end building up, and we have to remember that this is gonna be listened to in conjunction with the rest of the band and the ensemble, and this is gonna end up sounding muddy, so we're gonna get rid of that low end right now. And the cool thing is that we have access to a powerful graphical equalizer here. So since we already know what kind of frequencies we're gonna get rid of, it's quite obvious that we're gonna get rid of the low end first and see what happens next. First, without the EQ. Awesome! Now the last ingredient for this amazing sound recipe is reverb. So the question is this: where are we gonna put it? Because we got two options. We can put it in front of the amplifier, in front of the preamp section, or we can put it after the whole amplifier on the loopback. So for me, and in this particular application, I like to put my reverbs usually on the loopback. So why, you might be asking, and actually that's a great question. The reason why I always put my reverbs on the back is because that way I will have access to a way more controlled sound. And if, for example, I happen to use a little bit more distortion than at the beginning of the sound sculpting process, my guitar sound is not gonna end up being messed up by the ridiculous amount of distortion going into a reverb pedal. So let's give it a listen. And for this application, I'm gonna use Deep Reverb, which is like well, you already have an idea what kind of pedal is trying to replicate. So let's give it a shot. And the idea is to always use a subtle amount of reverb. Okay, I'm gonna put it on solo so we can have an idea of how it sounds like. Right from the get-go, it's a little bit too washed up. So we're gonna get rid of a little bit of the mix. We're gonna put it somewhere in the likes of this. Just a subtle touch of delay, of reverb, sorry. Now, I think it's adding a little bit too much low end. So we're gonna fix it by turning this knob huge difference, isn't it? Why did that happen? Well, we changed the sound of the reverb by changing the equalization that it's been controlled by this knob. So we can control the sound of the reverb itself independently from the guitar sound, which is amazing, and that's one of the reasons why I like to use my reverbs on the loopback section of the amplifier. Now, I think it's a little bit too big, but just just by a tiny bit. So let's change it to something the likes of this and see what happens. As you could see, THU is a really powerful guitar sound engine. It's full of features and actually it's quite easy to use. Especially this Slate digital version comes with a lot of IRs that are quite impressive. In further videos I'm gonna dive deeper into more of the options that this software has, so stay tuned for that. If you like this kind of content, the best way to support this channel is by listening to our music on Apple Music and Spotify, and also following us on social media such as Instagram or Facebook. Also leaving a like in this video and sharing with people that you might think that might be interested in this kind of information would be super helpful. If you got any question, leave it in a comment below, and as usual, don't let anybody tell you what to dream about, and I will see you when I see you.